Welcome to the Addiction Solution Podcast. I'm Michelle Dunbar. Enjoy listening and watching as addiction experts Mark Sheeran and I cover controversial as well as helpful topics on addiction, how to move past it, and other related subjects. As two of the co-founders of the Freedom Model, Mark and I will give you a completely new perspective on the topics that matter to you. We will take to task the Recovery Society's lies and misinformation and replace them with facts, research, and the methods to move on from addiction struggles without 12-step meetings, rehabs, and the shackles of endless recovery. Let's escape the treatment and recovery trap together and learn to be free. Welcome to the truth. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Addiction Solution. I'm Michelle Dunbar.
And I'm Mark Sheeran, and we wrote the Freedom Model for Addictions, Escape the Treatment and Recovery Trap with our colleague, Stephen Slate.
We just want to tell you quick about our solution to addiction workshops and coaching packages. I'm not sure everybody knows about them. They've become incredibly popular, and we're having tremendous success working with people in this way. The Solution to Addiction Workshop and the Solution to PMO and Sex Addiction Workshop are both available as standalone courses. But if you want, you can combine them with our 3-session coaching package that involves 3 sessions, 90-minute sessions with either Mark or me or a Freedom Model coach over the course of about 3 weeks. Sometimes people extend that out a little bit, but this seems to work incredibly well.
Yeah, it's very efficient. It's very effective because the workshop frames everything out so beautifully. Plus, you get, what else do you get? You get the online program.
You get 3 months of the online program because there are a lot of people that struggle to read this book.
It's 470 pages. Not everybody's going to read it.
No, and not everybody needs to read the whole thing.
That's right.
So with the coaching package, you can meet with us. We can say, hey, I think you would benefit from looking at these chapters, watching these video lessons. That online program gives you video tutorials of the entire book. So, and we add new video lessons every single month.
That's right.
And you get to talk with us, the two of us together, on the last Wednesday of every month as well.
Right. That's in addition to the coaching session.
Yes. So that will extend out. So if your 3 coaching sessions are done in month 1, you'd get the opportunity to talk with us in month 2 and month 3 as well. Okay. So this is a tremendous value, and we really want everybody to know about it because we've had such success with it. So,
and we have that for PMO and sex addiction now too, as a standalone unit. So we have the workshop and the coaching package for substance use, and then we have it for PMO and sex addiction as well.
So you can find those at thefreedommodel.org. It's right in the menu. They're the first 2 options in our menu. So pick the one that you want, or if you want to talk with us, you can call us at 888-424-2626. That first phone call with us is absolutely free, and we can help you figure out what might work best for you.
All right, everybody. All right. So today we're going to talk about, Michelle had a brief coaching session yesterday and it brought up a lot of different topics. So why don't you describe the scenario?
Well, this person started by saying that they started counting days, that they went for a long period of time after a coaching session they had with Mark and felt great. Well, they didn't feel deprived. They felt amazing. Let me preface this by saying they had the workshop. This was for PMO, but they had the workshop. They already have watched it a couple times. He just finished reading the book that we uploaded into the workshop. So the book is uploaded now, the PMO book.
Yeah.
But he didn't start reading the book until over the past week, he started counting days.
Right. Prior to reading the book.
And at first he thought, he was counting days because he was so excited. It had been so long. He's like, how long has it been? But then counting days turned into deprivation, right? I don't think he realized it. But he talked about doing he's in college, doing his work at the computer, and his mind wandering to wanting to do his habit.
So let's frame that out right there. So he's already counting days, not real. So there's this sort of mindless process with habits. So that's the nature of a habit is efficiency of thought and action. That's why we are habitual creatures. There's a purpose for habit building in a human being, and that is you habituate in the mind something that you repeat, and then it becomes very efficient. So it can become almost mindless, right?
Yeah.
You make a decision very quickly based on certain cues in your environment, and you mindlessly go forward with your habit. And every single thing in a human's life that is motivated, whether it's walking to the store or driving your car or PMOing or having a 4-day binge with booze, all of this stuff is normal habit making. But what happens is people have a tendency to forget the fact that they have this habit. And so what happens is they start thinking about whatever the object of their desire mindlessly.
And then they frame it in a way that this is the evil part of them, or this is
Bad.
the addiction, or this is some entity that's working. This is their brain, their dopamine, their whatever it is,
Right.
whatever they've read, they frame it in a way that is not them.
That's such an important point. So once we get into the weird world where we take our own thoughts, our own habits, which can only happen within the confines of our mind, and we externalize it as if there's a cause, that there's some force or thing or set of circumstances or scenarios that is forcing or compelling behavior. What we've done is we've taken all the power away from our ability to change, because we've now taken something we're creating and we're saying, no, it's out there. And we split off into a concept that we have no control over. And we call that addiction.
Yeah.
I'm cued or triggered, as if the object has power over your mind. There is only you. There is only one mind. I can't tell you how many times I have to say this to people over and over again. And because there is only one mind, there's what we call deliberating. There's choice making. Within your mind, you're deliberating. That's the feeling, I think, of I feel like I have two minds.
Right. I feel like that my brain is working against what I really want. I really want to not do this thing, but my brain really wants to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you frame it that way, and yes, when you go to AA, that's the substance, right? When you go to AA, it's alcohol that's cunning, baffling, and powerful. Your brain is broken. When you frame it that way, it becomes this otherworldly force that, a lot of times is just too great to beat.
Yeah.
And so you give in.
It's a false battle.
It is a false
battle.
dichotomy. But if you go, with like he did, he went a few weeks. So let's look at this. If he framed it differently, if he had dismissed it as, this is a habitual thought and I don't do this anymore because there's no value for me. Right. And he moved on with his day. If he framed it that way, that, oh, yes, this is just a habitual thought, and it's okay that I'm not doing this anymore because it doesn't have any value for me anymore. People, initially he said to me, well, you make that sound so easy. And I'm like, because it's all in your belief system and how you frame it, because ultimately you're the one in control. Okay. So it is easy. If you genuinely know it doesn't hold any value for you, but what you did instead is you invested in your initial, when you started counting days because you thought, oh my gosh, without even knowing it, oh my gosh, I haven't done this wonderful thing in so long.
So the operative part there is wonderful.
Yeah.
So if you build back in value, So you can devalue something and then build the value back in. And
Yes.
sometimes we do that mindlessly
That's it.
because for maybe 20 years you've had this habit with heroin, and you've had this belief system that heroin is this amazing emotional elixir, and and then there's all this other baggage on top of that. I mean, that's why our book is 470 pages, right? So you have all this baggage, all this amazing value that you've built into it. And sometimes you challenge all those benefits, those perceived benefits. You devalue it. You realize that most of those benefits are fabricated or just good marketing, whether it's porn, whether it's heroin, whether it's alcohol, whatever it is, cigarettes, whatever. And but the marketing has been so well done and your habit has been so practiced that you mindlessly go back to that,
Yeah.
those general thoughts. And it's easy to take old information that you have, you know, thought about repetitiously over and over again and invested a massive amount of your emotional resources and time and money into, and go back to that and
Yeah.
revalue it, right? Assess the value higher again. And so in the process of changing a habit, sometimes you go through this sort of waveform where you devalue, then you build the value mindlessly back up, or even mindfully. You say, no, it's really there. And you might go back and forth. And that might feel like a good and a bad, or a good and evil within you battling it out. But there's just you deliberating on the benefits and the reality of those benefits. Are they real? And so that deliberating process is mindful,
That's
and it
it.
takes work. And so if you find yourself counting days, you have already built the value back high,
Right.
or else
Because
you wouldn't, there's nothing to count away from.
right. Wait, I don't count the days I don't eat peanut butter. I don't like it.
Right.
Okay. I don't see value in it. I don't count the days that I don't ride my bicycle. You don't count days of something that you don't see value in doing.
God, that's a perfect way of saying it. So I just want to I want to be clear. I want to go over this again. So you can mindfully devalue something through the process of the freedom model by assessing perceived benefits, seeing if they're real, challenging them against the facts, objective truths, which we go through in the books. Many books. We have 3 books now, right? And all the programs, you can go through that and mindfully check all of those perceived benefits. Are they real? Let me challenge all that. And then you can build it right back up again if you
Yep.
want to. You can go right into mythology and believe that cigarettes are great for stress, right? You can go there. It's absolute total bullshit, okay? But you can believe it if you want to, and then you'll feel deprived when you don't have it because you've built that value
Especially
back up.
when you're stressed.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as you are willing to spend the time to build the value back up, you're going to have to count days to stay away from it. You're going to feel deprived of something you feel you need. So if you find yourself counting days, that's your issue.
Yeah.
That's your issue.
So let's say you started counting days, you're building the value back up, and you go back to it. Again, depending on how you frame it, is how you will respond afterwards. So if you frame it like I'm a failure,
Oh yeah,
this
yeah.
the freedom model failed me, or whatever program you're doing failed you. If you frame it that way, that somehow some way now you're back to square one, which is what the 12-step programs do, right? You're
Yes.
back to square one.
All or nothing.
It's this all or nothing idea. And I posted that the other day. If you all or nothing can really be a detriment when you're trying to solve a habit, break a habit, change your life, whatever it is. And you frame it like you failed in some way. Well, then you did. Okay. But you didn't. You don't have to frame it that way. You can frame it like, okay, I built the value back up. See it for what
Yes.
it is.
Yes.
This is my process of deliberation. This is my process of figuring it out. Did it provide me what I wanted? Like, like go back. Or if you find yourself in there and you're like, I'm going to do this, well, then do it mindfully and say, I'm choosing to do this because I believe it's going to do this, this, and this for me. I want those benefits. I'm going to go do it. And then afterwards, evaluate it again.
That's right. So like I said, the process of getting over a habit, if you have adequately challenged your perceived benefits and debunk them, whatever they might be. Now, you might find in the list of 30 benefits that 2 or 5 or maybe 10 are real, and that 20 aren't real, right? And if you get there, maybe moderation is your answer, because there's still 10 things that you find are valuable to that experience, but the big ones, the big myths are gone. So you've devalued it to a point where you go, oh, this is a mild enjoyment.
Right. And I don't need it in my life every day. I don't need to do it to the extent I was doing it.
Right. It's no longer on the need category, but I kind
I
of want
enjoy
this.
this once in a while.
Yeah. And but here's the deal, or maybe you debunk it. Maybe it is a really, really detrimental habit that you thought gave you benefits and it doesn't at all. Let's say you debunk the whole thing. In the process of change, it's very easy to go back to a thought pattern based on your environment and cues. So if you have certain thoughts that are attached to an easy chair, if I sit in my easy chair, I have a toddy for the body and I drink my scotch here. So when you sit in the chair, you might think about that. You might think about it. As a matter of fact, I guarantee you will think about it. Then the question is, how much investment do I make in that? Do I build it back up instantly
Right.
and say, oh, this is a craving?
Right. Do I frame it that way?
Or is it just a thought? Now, cravings are just thoughts. The cravings don't happen to you,
No.
but it feels like it does because you've been cued by an environmental factor that you thought that you would have a learned connection with. You connect your easy chair to boozing. And so you feel it's automatic, but wait a minute, stop and go, wait a minute. What's my learned connection here? This chair is meaningless to me. It doesn't have to be attached to scotch. Like, that's kind of an odd thing to think. You know? And so you can challenge that learned connection, deconnect it, enjoy your chair without the scotch. So cues, the word triggered makes it sound like you have no choice. And that's so dangerous, because that idea will keep you trapped forever.
Right.
You know? So let go of the bullshit of the internet that says you're a triggered, weak, pathetic human being who is run by their environment and biochemistry, because that's bullshit. Right. Unless you believe it's true, because ultimately what your mind believes becomes your reality. Now, that brings me back to, so in the process of change, it's like a waveform. You may be triggered or cued, and then you go, wait a minute, I don't, and the value might go up within a minute, and you go, I drink in my easy chair. Well, do I?
Right.
Do I have to?
Yeah.
Is that true? Is that automatic? Is that inherent? Do chairs make us drink scotch? Like, does stress make me smoke? I mean, really? Does it?
Does being bored doing my homework for school on the computer, make my mind wander to a PMO?
Right.
Right? Like if I'm just sitting at my computer.
Right. How are they? The objects don't run your mind. But here's what's interesting. At that point, you can say, wait a minute, I have made a connection to these things. I do have an emotional connection that I've created in my own mind. That's not my biochemistry. That's not the computer. There is no power in objects to compel behavior. This is not a small point, but people gloss over it.
Yeah.
They mindlessly think this shit, like I did, like she did.
All those learned connections are reminders, right? Your mind. You're reminded that, oh, I usually do this when I feel this way. I usually do this when I'm doing this other thing. Your morning coffee and cigarette. I wake up. The first thing I do is I make my coffee and I go out on the porch and have my cigarette with my coffee. Reminder. It's just something you've done it that way for a long time. And so, yes, you'll be reminded for a period of time. And how you now, if you've already decided and you've devalued cigarettes and you realize I don't need a cigarette with my coffee in the morning for any reason, well, then when you get that reminder, you will summarily dismiss it, or you can invest in it and think, oh, it was really great, wasn't
Yeah. Yeah. And how great was it?
it? Mm-hmm.
Usually these fetish props that we have, cigarettes, rituals, booze in the easy chair, all of this stuff is about the experience of relaxing from life.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a prop that is a distraction.
Right.
And there is no power in the prop, though.
No.
And this is where things go from I like to be distracted from life, which, by the way, every single
Everybody
human
does.
being does,
For sure.
to the fetish prop, the scotch, the buzz, the physical buzz, the pornography, the food, the gambling, the rush of the casino, all of that. When we start to give that power as if it compels your behavior and that it is this ginormous thing in your life that you have no control over and triggers you into behaving in a certain way, then you've given it a religious value.
Yeah.
You've created a religion because it's all based on belief. The object doesn't know.
Yeah.
Booze, even when it's in your system, doesn't know that you're stressed or want to leave life and want to escape. It doesn't know that. And just because you get acetaldehyde poisoning doesn't mean that the booze is actually taking your life away, and all the stress away. It's not actually objectively doing that. This is all you playing a game with yourself. So what game do you want to play? A game of reality or a game of lies?
Right. And both of our solution workshops, the solution to addiction and the solution to PMO and sex addiction workshops, we have a specific slide that talks about how we have a whole section on value creation. And I think sometimes people want to still gloss over that.
No, they do.
And think, I remember we had somebody post in the group about, I'm the only reason I'm still smoking is because of the fear of withdrawal. The withdrawal is too great. I don't like it. Somebody else posted and answered her about using the patches and using and then we had somebody answer that basically was like, this is more, you're believing the marketing. You're believing the not only the marketing from the tobacco industry, but you're believing the marketing from now the same people that sell you the cigarettes are now the pharmaceuticals are selling you patches and gum. And when cigarettes are the most quit substance on the planet. Okay. So if you've devalued it sufficiently, if you realize the truth about nicotine and cigarettes, nicotine is a mild stimulant at best. Okay. If you realize the truth about it, that cigarette smoking by and large is a lot more about the ritual of it and the identity you've taken on as a smoker than it is about the actual drug that you're intaking. Okay. It's a lot like coffee drinkers. There's an identity as a coffee drinker, right? It is a ritual that you go through in the morning that I enjoy very, very much. I don't look at it as negative. Since cigarettes have become taboo, it's an interesting phenomenon that's happened because and taboo, and now there's all this pushing that it's an addiction and you can't do it alone. Less people smoke overall because people care about what other people think of them.
Well, and you're shunned.
Yeah, but the people that are smokers kind of dug in their heels.
Oh, yeah.
You know what
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean? And so they outwardly are saying, I'm trying to quit, but inwardly, it's their thing. It's their whoopee. It's the thing that they love. And so it's made it so that they don't even recognize that they've put this on such a pedestal.
Well, every time that you create taboos what you do is you create the need for control. So as soon as you make something out of reach of people, they're going to reach for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Certain people will.
yeah. And if you see
We're those people.
if you see value in it,
Yeah.
if you see value in that thing, every time you make something, people feel guilty about something, a pleasure, you have increased its value to that person.
Yeah.
The more you push somebody to quit drinking, the greater the value will be to that person.
Absolutely.
Because anything that requires external forces to try and stop you tells the person who's using it, holy shit, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
When if everybody backed off, it becomes just a thing that they personally have to deal with.
Yep.
So, and we see this with lawmaking and all kinds of things, so the value creation can be, you can negatively increase the value by saying it's dirty. I have to get clean. That's something I always point out when they say, you're shooting heroin, you got to get clean. That implies that you're dirty, that it's bad, that you're a bad person and shameful. You know what that does to heroin? Raises it up, because what else could be so delicious that it would convert you into a dirty person? That it's that powerful that it can destroy you.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't destroy you. Your use of it and the value and meaning you have given it destroys you, because then you have a huge habit with it, because you've increased the value. It all comes all the way back when we go, it comes down to, what do you think about this object? Whether it's heroin, the screen, your phone, a casino, or food, or whatever. It all comes down to what you think.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't gloss over. If you don't have the workshops, get them. Don't gloss over the value creation. That is where where the angel and the devil come from in your mind, that you are fighting with yourself. No, you're not fighting with yourself. You still see the enormous value in this thing, or you wouldn't have to count days. You wouldn't have to fight with yourself about it. And you, even in the case of when I got to that point, and I did very organically, we are in our podcast last week that we released, you met Jessie, and she talked about, when it came to drinking and smoking, she got to the point very organically where she was like, I don't think I like this anymore. I don't think I want to do this anymore, and allowed herself to devalue it. Because I think many people get to that point, which I did and Mark did with alcohol, where we rejected all that we had learned, right? Oh, we had learned about the powers of alcohol growing up, but I summarily rejected it, was not afraid of withdrawal, and decided I don't think I want to do this anymore. And then stopped. And then just stopped. It took me 20 years later to understand how that happened.
Yeah, I know.
Because after I stopped, went through withdrawal, which if you're going through withdrawal with alcohol, I do recommend getting medical attention. I did not, because I didn't know any better at the time. And I was okay. Many people are, but still medical attention is recommended with alcohol withdrawal. I went to AA, and then started learning, reinforcing the idea that I needed to count days, and that it was this powerful thing that was going to draw me back. And all kinds of fucked up things, beliefs were reinforced. Thankfully, I hung on to the idea that I quit on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always an internal process, regardless of the method that you use. So no matter what, if you change a habit, you changed it internally by mindfully deciding this doesn't have the same value it did 2 days ago.
Right.
And this idea that you have an angel and devil inside of you, all that is one mind. There's not two of you. There's just one mind, and it's deliberating between the value you see and the value that is real, objectively real, if there is any.
Competing options.
Yeah, competing options, and And is this thing actually giving me the benefits that I believe it's giving me? And people, everything that we're doing in this podcast is all built around this idea of being mindful and not ignoring what's actually happening inside of you. You know, if you're counting days, we're going to go right back. Let's bring it right back around. If you're counting days, it just shows you that you have massive amounts of value that you believe and you're trying to run away from. You're trying to count the days away. You're depriving yourself. You're scared of all these benefits. You've recreated your disco ball. And if you haven't watched the workshop, you'll know what the disco ball is. That's what we're talking, all the benefits. And so yeah, get the workshop, because we go 3 hours worth of how you build the meaning and value, and then how you can debunk that, and all the various ways, rituals, staring at the past, and wishing it was like the good old days. That's a big value creation. There's a tremendous amount of meaning that you put into these things, like a religion, and you have to debunk that if you're going to walk out and be free.
Yeah.
And being free means you're not counting days. You don't even think about it.
Yeah. And it look at, we understand, to close, we understand that changing a habit can be difficult. It can be a real process for some people. Be kind to yourself while you're doing it. And one last thing that I'll give you that I do with my coaching students is, I say, when you're trying to learn your why, and when Mark talks about your why, which we talk about a lot in the new PMO book
and in coaching,
your why is all the value that you created, all those reasons, the things you think you're getting from it. It is your binge construct. When you're asking yourself why, ask it like a 3-year-old asks it.
That's good.
Okay. Do not ask it with judgment, because if you are saying, if you're saying it with the attitude of, why are you so weak, or why are you so bad, or whatever judgment you're adding in your mind, erase that. Ask why, just to be curious. Why do I want this right now?
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. That's really good. So, being kind to yourself, like I talked about earlier, you go through a waveform and change.
Yeah.
You devalue, you add value back in. You devalue, you add the value back in. And you sort of go through this process. And eventually you just figure out enough truth that you're not going to go to the thing that doesn't serve you.
You're not.
You're just, there comes a point where reality just shines enough light. You shed enough mental light on this object and you go, is it really that exciting, to be involved with this thing? But you do have to understand your why. What are your reasons behind your fetish? Why do you like it so damn much? And don't gloss over that. You have to figure out, you have to inventory your disco ball. You have to know all the beliefs that have you trapped. And then you have to look at each one and go, that's not true. That's not true. What is the fact about this idea? And now, if the workshop isn't enough for you, get coaching. We just had a bunch of people sign up for CASP, which is our Complete Addiction Solution Program,
where they're coming in,
and
meeting with us. We have somebody coming in this week, which is fantastic. We're very excited.
And we're booked out now.
Yeah. So I did leave this caller last night with one last thing, and that was, and actually he said it. He goes, should I just get on with things? Because there's also what is called analysis paralysis, so to speak, right?
So true.
Where you almost start hiding out in the analysis and giving it a life of its own on its own. Because as you're systematically devaluing, you're also raising the value in doing other things.
That's true.
Because you're getting on with your life. So yes, don't be afraid to just move on with your life. And as these, what Marco spurious thoughts or your habitual thoughts come in, you're cued, you're reminded. it's easier to dismiss them when you've got on with life.
That's a real good point. So I just was talking to somebody in coaching last week, and I said, you're going to do, he said, what's my assignment? You're going to do two things. And we talked about devaluing, everything we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, but simultaneously, you have to move forward in your life. Your issue, this particular person, I said, we've discussed this, that you're using this as a distraction. His main value creation was, I don't want the risk of life, so I'm going to hide out. And so I said, as you devalue this thing, there's not that much value you see in it. You just got to get on with things.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to get on with
things. So it's always advantageous to move forward and challenge yourself in life with new options while you're devaluing and doing your analysis and being mindful of your habits. Yes. You do things on those two fronts and your life within a year. And I tell people this, and it's absolutely true because I dealt with it with tens of thousands of people. Your life will change.
Yep.
And you'll be blown away, and you'll look back and you'll go, I cannot believe that I believed all that crap. I can't believe that that's how I lived my life. And when you get out and you're able to see it, you'll be like, I'm so happy.
Yep.
To be free.
You will. You'll know when you've gotten there. And sometimes it takes being mindful to realize you're there.
Yeah, it's true.
It's, with a lot of things. So, all right, everybody, thanks so much. And don't forget, you can get the solution workshops at thefreedommodel.org. You can also look into coaching as well. You can give us a call at 1-888-424-2626. And if you want us to talk about something specific, put it up in our private Facebook, one of our private Facebook groups, or you can send us an email at info@thefreedommodel.org. And if you like this podcast, give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen.
Yes, please give us a 5-star rating because we have some trolls that are giving us negative reviews.
Yes, and share this podcast with your friends.
All right, everybody.
Thanks,
Take care.
Everybody. Bye.